We are 1 week from the big kickoff in the Championship. I am back, so let's look at everybody's transfer window and see who's improved, who's stood still, and who's gone backwards. I'm going to rank each team's business so far and tell you how I think that they have done. We're going to have 5 tiers. Up at the top is Nailed It, followed by Cause for Optimism next. We've got Much of a Muchness in there in the middle. Cause for Concern if it's not looking good. And if it's been a bad one, one to forget down at the bottom there. Remember, this is purely about recruitment. We've already ranked the managers and the infamous 1 to 24 predictions are coming very soon. Right, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to go in groups of 3 and we'll start with the teams that were relegated from last year's Premier League. And let's head to Burnley, who had the longest stay up there in the top division, and it's only natural that some big names were going to be off. We almost need to judge relegated teams differently in that respect as they're dropping a level. So it's more about the retool and who's coming in necessarily added to the quality that's already there than who's going out. That said, Pope, Collins, me and Tarkowski, some big names on the way out. The new names coming in do seem to be of the young and hungry variety. Twine and McNally were stars down in League One. Harwood, Bellis, Cullen and Bastian are all known to company from his time in Belgium. Egan Riley and Martson, who was in the Championship last year with Coventry, young players loaned from big clubs. Look, obviously some big names out, but I think given the experienced pros still in that squad, I don't have a problem with them going young and hungry. I think there's a chance of this working. So I'm going to stick Burnley in Cause for Optimism. Norwich have bossed the Championship the last 2 times they've been down, but no Daniel Farker in the dugout this time and no Emi Buendia up and down that right-hand side bossing the division. Big positive though, Pukki still there, Aaron's still there, they're stars at this level. Isaac Hayden should be very competent stepping down from the Premier League if they can get him fit indeed. Gabriel Sara looks an exciting one. We never know how these players from exotic climes are going to settle, but as I say, looks high calibre. And the last South American we already mentioned was pretty good for Norwich, wasn't he? And right now, I've got to say I'd have them in the much of a muchness category. Not really that much better, not really that much worse. I think more dealing's going to be done, and it's quite important that at least one of Aaron's and Pukki is there come deadline day. At Watford, we know the important thing is the new culture under Rob Edwards. All sorts of things coming out about last season, but that is not a topic for this video. Vicarage Road fans will not be scared of a high turnover. They've done it and they've done it successfully before. Hernandez, Sissoko, Zinkernagel, King, Gray and more have gone. As of now, Sarr and Dennis are still there. I think if you keep one of those guys and play them in the Championship for 30 games, that sounds like a win to me. Watford also make innovative moves around Europe. Often people I've never heard of and have to do a lot of research on. So Bayo and Manaj are interesting, and that surely won't be the last incomings there. I think I'm at Cause for Optimism for Watford. Let's break from tradition and do the rest of the new boys. So we're dealing with Sunderland, Wigan and Rotherham who've come up from League One. Rotherham, I've got to admit I am worried about. It felt this time they were going to give it a real good crack in the Championship after yo-yoing between League One and the second tier. But Smith and a Heck were leaving. I don't like that. I would have thought they would have been 2 players you would build around and add more to. Look, Humphreys, Kioso, Bramall, McCarr, Eves, Washington in. But honestly, I'm still worried about the outgoings. Sorry, Millers fans. So far, one to forget for me. And what about champions Wigan? Well, so far so quiet at the DW. And look, maybe they're just going to back the team that got them there and it'll work. But it doesn't normally, does it? I do think they need to add a few. Probably will, but at the moment it's cause for concern for me for the Latics. To our playoff winners, Sunderland, and they're not really a normal-sized League One club, so expectations immediately go through the roof there after promotion. Dejuku converted to a permanent. Look, if they get the Clark from Bielsa year 1 at Leeds, then they're laughing, but that's up to him if he can knuckle down and reproduce that. Ballard looks a really good pickup, and I like the kind of ambitious nature of it. Elise looks to have good Premier League pedigree at centre-half. No big names pinched, so I think we're definitely in cause for optimism territory at Sunderland. And what about our losing playoff teams? It was so near, but yet so far for Sheffield United, Luton and Huddersfield last time. Out for the Blades. No big outs so far, but Morgan Gibbs White was a star on loan and his output will need covering, assuming he won't be returning. Sander Berger is still there at this moment in time. That's important to whether they're going to have a good or a bad window. Doyle is in. He looked decent at Cardiff last season. Clark, he'll be absolutely fine, experienced at centre-half. And it looks like a pretty penny has been dropped on, and I'll put my teeth in for this one, Anel Ahmedhodzic at centre-half. Look, I think there's still more to run in this story for Blades this summer, so I'm going to stick them in the middle for now. Much of a muchness. Aha, good old Luton. Do we just stick them in? Nailed it. They normally nail it in terms of their recruitment. But, problem, Cal Naismith. That was a surprising one. He went out to Bristol City early in the window. However, I do think they've done their normal trick and mitigated that loss with some great incomings, frankly. Some totally on-brand Luton stuff here. Doughty is the rehabilitating young player from Stoke after the big move didn't work out. Louis Watson is a project there, youngster from Derby. Horvath and Macy in the keeping department where Luton have problems over the past couple of seasons. Freeman can be a proper player, and maybe QPR fans or Sheffield United fans will tell you two different stories. And then two in from Barnsley. Woodrow knows what he's doing at this level. And Carlton Morris sees Luton actually start to push the boat out a little bit more, we think, in terms of transfer fees. Are they doing a Brentford here and starting to up the ante? We'll find out, provided no important names go out. I think it's nailed it again up at Luton. I know we're only here to do recruitment, but I am a bit worried about Huddersfield. A lot of goings on since that tremendous appearance in the playoff final. Really sense of punching above their weight last season in the most positive way. No one expected third place in a Wembley appearance. But the manager is gone. And I would say O'Brien and Toffolo, along with Sorba Thomas, two of the best three players in that side have gone as well. Thomas, thankfully for Huddersfield, has stayed put. Rudoni in from Wimbledon looks fun, but if I'm weighing up against O'Brien and Toffolo going out, Nakayama, Mahoney, Boyle and Kasumu come in, does that mitigate the loss of those big names? I know I shouldn't throw the manager into it, but I think it's one to forget so far at Huddersfield. Let's do some fairly recent ex-Premier League teams, West Brom, Stoke and Swansea. We'll start with the Baggies. Big underachievement last season, so don't assume this squad needed a big overhaul, and just the one big name going out in Sam Johnston, but that had been coming with his contract running down for over a year. Incoming though, Mollenby on a permanent, and he'd already been there on loan, and they got both of the two big championship free agents in Jed Wallace and John Swift. And back comes Yokuslu, who I think was there under Big Sam, possibly. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Do you know what? I like it a lot. Considering it's a parachute team, it doesn't need much work, just good management and a good quality sprinkler. And I think they've nailed it at the Hawthorns. Any Stoke fans who watch regularly on the channel will know I don't have a very good history predicting how the Potters are going to do. So I'll try my best here, but 8 players out does seem to be wage bill cutting. And although they need to retool and get younger, plenty of talent there. Vrancic, Allen, Afobe Smith and some old heads there in Chester and Fletcher going out. In comes Laurent, who's very steady. Flint, very experienced. McCarran on permanence. A couple of youngsters in Kilkenny and Clark. Are they better? Are they worse? I think I'll do my normal on Stoke and go right down the middle. Much of a muchness, but who the hell knows? Let's follow Joe Allen off over to Swansea, where he makes his return. Flynn Downs has left for West Ham, but I think considering the fee and the fact he'd only been there for a year, that sale is probably a net positive. Russ Martin is all about possession, isn't he? So taking Harry Darling from MK seems to be smart. Wood joins him at centre-half. Sorinola down the left. I think I'm at cause for optimism, providing they keep Joel Pirro there at the club and probably one or two more spending a bit of that Flynn Downs cash. We're halfway there, so quick pause just to say, if you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button and support the video and the channel. We are going to Birmingham, Boro and Millwall next. Let's start with Birmingham. And again, I've got to stay on topic. We're not here to talk about takeovers, but that clearly impacts recruitment there in a big way. Some names in, Ruddy, Blachetta, Trusty, Sanderson, but Villalobos, Sanchez, and particularly these guys, Pedersen, Bella and Sunjic. It's not been great at Birmingham, but they have been some of the better players there. Does make them weaker, in my view. Not the fault of John Eustace, the new manager there, but I think it's one to forget for me so far for Blues. We always knew that Borough's window was going to be defined by Jed Spence. Could they get him to a Premier League club? Could they get him to a Champions League club? They always pay more. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Out goes Jed Spence to Tottenham, and a big fee coming in, and the team is not weakened. He literally wasn't there last season, and Isaiah Jones down the right. So great start there. Lenihan is a great pickup for free, and Giles has done well on loan in the Championship before. Stefan or Roberts the solution in goal? Don't know yet. And there's interest in Tavernier. Will that see him leave, or can they keep hold of him? Moving parts ahoy, but that Spence deal surely makes this at least cause for optimism up at the Riverside. How are Millwall going to cope with the loss of the talismanic Jed Wallace off to West Brom after his deal run down? I think they've done a fair job in mitigating that loss. Fleming looks like an exciting and exotic arrival on paper. Let's see how he settles. Afobe is a no-brainer. He looks more at home than he has done in several seasons. Honeyman knows the Championship very well. Cresswell, he might well fill the hole left by Ballard, who was on loan last year. And Shackleton, I'm a big fan of. I loved watching him under Bielsa. He looked like he was playing in fast forward. So look, given the Wallace situation, I think that's got to be a nailed it in terms of keeping those patrons over at the Den nice and happy. QPR, Cardiff and Bristol City next. How is Michael Beale shaping up at Rangers? A little clear out. A lot of experience went, but nothing really vital in terms of a 30-35 gamer for next year. Willock, Chair and Dickey are all still there, so that's good news. Clark Salter, solid. Paul, he comes in from the Netherlands. We'll see how he goes. Tyler Roberts, okay at Leeds. I think they need a little bit more there. So sorry, Rangers fans, but in the absence of that, it's going to be a cause for concern for me right now. Cardiff has been completely turned upside down in a hugely bold transfer window over in Wales. A number of the old guard of sort of Warnock, Harris, McCarthy era have gone, and Steve Morrison has most definitely got his own squad to build a team now. Are you ready? Tanner, Rinomota, Ojo, O'Dowda, Collins, Sawyers, Allsop, Olnick, Daly Campbell, Adams and Kipre. All arriving over in Cardiff. Is there a huge smattering of quality there to fly up the table and trouble the parachute teams? Probably not, but I love the boldness of a reset. Look, it can go both ways, can't it? But I like the audacity of it. They've gone all in, so I've got to go. Cause for optimism on Cardiff. Over at Bristol City, the traditional big summer sale isn't a thing anymore. No big names going out. Semenyo, Scott and Masengo all stay put. Naismith is a great pickup, a surprising one. At the time, he was in my Championship team of the season last year. Bajic arrives in goal. Wilson and Sykes, exciting pickups from Leagues 1 and 2. I'm going to throw it into a much of a muchness, but probably a good thing actually, because Bristol City need stability and less churn under Pearson. So this may turn out to be exactly the right approach. We'll see. Right, 6 to go. Let's head to Blackburn, Reading and Coventry. We'll start at Ewood with Jean Dahl Thomason's first window there. I don't think we're anywhere near done, by the way, and this might be different in a few weeks' time. Walker and Britton, who I liked a lot at Barnsley, are in. The Chilean sensation, Ben Brereton Diaz, is still there, but Captain Lenihan out on a free, and Joe Rothwell, who's a great driver from midfield, also on a free. I know there's a long way to go, but because they've got no money for those two key players, I'm afraid I'm going to go one to forget, with the very large European caveat that John Dahl Thomason may well be heading to Europe for some names in the next month. Oh, Reading. Yuck. Look, we knew it was coming, didn't we, with the EFL approved business plan, which pretty much acts as a salary cap, as I understand it. So we knew players were going to go out, and we knew the squad was going to look a lot different. Incomings, Ince, Long, Hendrick, Hutchison and Lumley, all available but for no transfer fee, and I have to say there's a reason they were able to pick up all of those guys for nothing. To lose Swift, Rinomota and Laurent all to Championship rival and not make a penny in fees really does suck. It could have only got worse if they sold Lucas João as well. That may or may not happen, we'll see. I know they're paying for the FFP crimes of the past, but it's definitely one to forget for me at Reading. Coventry, they're normally very, very good recruiters, but there seems to be a bit of a bottleneck there. I wonder why. Look, incoming, someone's got to get a tune out of Casey Palmer soon. He arrives from Bristol City on loan. And I think Panzo had a lovely old time in his run out in a friendly. Doyle also arrives from Manchester City. Obviously, the logjam I'm possibly talking about is Gyökeres, Hamer, O'Hare. They're still all there, but particularly O'Hare and Hamer getting linked with moves away. I'm going to stick it in much of a muchness because that might be the domino that really gets things moving up at Coventry. Right, 3 to go. We're nearly there, I promise. Hull, Blackpool and Preston to round this out. And Hull looks absolutely fascinating if it clicks. It will also be fascinating if it doesn't click. Keane Lewis Potter for big money to Brentford and George Honeyman out to Millwall. Important players gone from that team, but so much coming in. The Turkish link sees Syed Manesh, Tufan, who we saw at Watford, didn't we? And Sinek coming in. Baxter is back in on loan. In goal, Estupinian from Portugal. And 2 players who were in promotion squads last season, Jean-Michel Seri and Toby Figueiredo. It looks really, really fun, but at the same time, it could totally end in tears bringing this squad together. I'm here for it. I love the audacity of it, like I said about Cardiff. So I've got to put them as well in cause for optimism. Blackpool are doing a fine job of testing my definition of much of a muchness here. The manager has gone, and I know I'm not here to talk about managers, but if it's a new era, they probably need some new faces for the new regime under Michael Appleton. No big names have gone out. Obviously, we're talking about Josh Bowler there in particular, who had a lot of interest back in January. Williams and Ferjani in on loan. I think they're going to need a little bit more. They'll probably do a bit more before deadline. So look, I'm going to go for cause for concern due to this quietness over at Blackpool. Finally, over at Preston, Ryan Lowe is shaping his squad in his first full pre-season there. 12 players out, so we're very much moving on from Alex Neil and Frankie McAvoy, which was just an extension of Alex Neil, wasn't it? His old assistant. Freddie Woodman, I love that. That's a great pickup, and they need to replace Iverson, who was on loan last season. Ben Woodburn has had quite the reputation for a few years. Can he find a home there with Ryan Lowe? Brady, super experienced as well. I still think it was Vandenberg who was on loan as well last year. They need to replace that output as well. I'll stick them in much of a muchness with the caveat they are going in the right direction. So there are my thoughts on who's bossed the transfer window and who struggled so far this summer. Remember, not everything your club does is brilliant. Not everything your rivals does is terrible. And quite a lot of transfers don't work out, even the ones that look really lovely on paper. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who would you put where? Obviously, most people only comment on the club they support. But let me set you a challenge. Why not tell me about a club you don't support, a rival who you're looking at with envious glances? If you want to disagree with me or anyone in the comments, fill your boots, free speech ahoy, just don't be a dick about it. And speaking of filling your boots, why not stay with the channel here and watch another video? It's going to be 1 to 24 predictions time very, very soon. This video may even be part of my research on it. So why not click here to see last season's attempt, or click here to see my reaction to last season's attempt once I knew all the answers. Hindsight is a wonderful thing.